One of the focuses of the January 6th hearing presentations today is on the relationship between Donald Trump and Mike Pence. We know that Donald Trump was pressuring Mike Pence to do the impossible, to somehow make him president again. Well, that came up in the hearings with Liz Cheney showing this.
President Trump was told repeatedly that Mike Pence lacked the constitutional and legal authority to do what President Trump was demanding he do. This is testimony from Mark Short, the Vice President's Chief of Staff, who served in the Trump administration in multiple positions over 4 years.
But just to pick up on that, Mr. Short, was it your impression that the Vice President had directly conveyed his position on these issues to the President, not just to the world through a Dear Colleague letter, but directly to President Trump?
Many times.
And had been consistent in conveying his position to the President?
Very consistent.
So Donald Trump knew from the words of his vice president, a person who he trusted enough to make him next in line to be president, that it was not up to Mike Pence to decide who gets to be president, okay? So Donald Trump cannot claim that he doesn't understand, that he should have known it anyway, but Mike Pence was making very clear that he was not going to overturn the results of the election, and he couldn't if he wanted to. And yet, January 6th happened, and in many messages leading up to it, in his speech that morning, Trump continued to assert to his fans, his cultists, that it was all on Mike Pence, and that if Mike Pence just does what he needs to do, Trump and MAGA will win. And that led to the insurrection. And we know what happened when the people began storming the Capitol. We're gonna have some new video of that in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. But David, I wanted your thoughts on what Mark Short revealed there.
I think it's very interesting, and it fits a pattern, because to hear that Mike Pence repeatedly and directly to Donald Trump said, no, I cannot do this. I don't have the constitutional authority to do this. And then Donald Trump went out and tweeted it anyway that, oh, we want Mike Pence to do this. It fits a pattern that I think the committee has been very effective in, and that there were a lot more people who were telling Donald Trump on election night and right after the election, you lost, the data is clear. And there were people in the Justice Department saying there's no evidence of fraud and it's clear. And so Donald Trump keeps hearing all of this stuff from people that he put in positions of power, and literally immediately goes on Twitter and says, oh, our election's being stolen, or Mike Pence can do the right thing. And so it shows a certain level of psychopathic nature to Donald Trump that is even more severe than I think a lot of people even realize.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, it is important legally to lay out that Trump knew what he was doing was illegal. That's important. Practically, though, we know that he doesn't care. He wasn't pushing for it because he thought it was legal. He was pushing for it because he wanted it to happen. That's it. He doesn't care about the law any more than he cares about the Constitution, any more than he cares about American democracy. He's not interested in any of that. He just wanted to be president. And he would do anything that he thought he needed to do to stay on as president, including threatening the life of Mike Pence. And we already know from some of the earlier stuff from this week that he talked to people about how Pence, when they're talking about hanging Mike Pence, maybe that was necessary. Maybe these people understood the anger better than Mike Pence did. And to remind you of how bad it actually was, take a look at this video, which was revealed at today's hearings.
I hear the Pence just caved.
No.
Is that true?
I didn't.
I'm hearing reports that Pence caved.
No
I'm
way.
telling you, if Pence caved, we're gonna drag through the streets. Politicians are gonna get drugged through the streets.
Yes.
I guess the hope is that there's such a show of force here that Pence will decide to do the right thing, according to Trump.
Bring him out! Bring him out!
Bring out Pence!
Bring him out!
Bring out Pence!
Bring him out!
Bring out Pence!
So David, some of that I've never seen before. We shouldn't need any more video. We know what that crowd wanted to do. We know that they brought the noose, and we're supposed to believe that all of that was just bravado, that if they had actually gotten to him and a crowd had dragged him out, the rest would have all suddenly realized that they had crossed an unacceptable line and they would have saved Mike Pence's life, that nobody who was trying to beat cops to death would have actually hurt a politician if they'd gotten to them. This whole thing is just so disgusting. And I hope, amongst all the different things that they're gonna reveal in these hearings, I hope that the obvious pushing these people to make lethal threats against politicians. This is the thing that should get through. What do you think?
Absolutely, I agree with you totally, because to the point, I mean, these people were clearly wound up. They were clearly led to believe that Mike Pence might do something for Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump knew all along that Pence was saying, no, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. So rather than say, okay, a couple weeks before January 6th, hey, Mike Pence can't do this, we're going to have to find another alternative. Trump led his people on, got their expectations up so they would be so revved up that maybe January 6th might work. Maybe Mike Pence would actually do this for us. And then they're let down in such a severe way that they want to hang Mike Pence. And again, it gets to Donald Trump's intent. He intended to put Mike Pence's life in jeopardy. He intended to create this pressure cooker and get his crowd so riled up that they might actually resort to violence.
That's indisputable. That is exactly what happened. And that is why, obviously, the people who were trying to kill people on January 6th there need to be consequences for that. If you're trespassing, if you're breaking furniture or whatever, that's all bad and you should be prosecuted. But it is such a weird situation to be like a year into all of these investigations and to have seen hundreds and hundreds of people get arrested, and many of them, being sentenced. And it was all just independent, I guess. It was just the crowd just came together like birds flocking. No one directed it. No one is actually responsible. Every one of them is echoing the words of Donald Trump. We know that they had this plan to try to scare Pence, scare the Senate, scare the House, maybe scare the SCOTUS as well. It is all so clear. And I still just don't have any faith that there are going to be consequences for Trump. Merrick Garland can say that the DOJ is watching, but I just don't know. Do you have any more hope? What do you think?
Wow, that's a great question. I at least hope, and I would think that even Merrick Garland, as reluctant as he may be, will say, okay, we're going to take this evidence, we're going to present it to a grand jury and let a grand jury decide. And oftentimes, like local prosecutors, when they're dealing with cops who engage in violence, the prosecutor doesn't want to say, oh yeah, the cop should be charged, so they kick it to the grand jury so they can blame the grand jury for whether the cop is indicted or not. I would like to think that Merrick Garland would at least do the same thing. Take this evidence, present it to a grand jury, let a citizen panel decide should Donald Trump be charged or not. And at least that way, I suppose Garland can have some distance. But for him, if the Department of Justice after these hearings doesn't take some of this information and say, no, we are going to review this, I think it'll just be a green light for this stuff to happen over and over again.
Yeah, and maybe in a couple of years, if they don't do anything, in a couple of years when Trump runs again and either just wins or loses, but now they control so many secretaries of state and they've got their insane people in Nevada and other places that they're gearing up to steal it. They could just steal it. Then we will get to feel a little bit of superiority and knowing that we told them so. But that will be so minute in comparison to the horror of the situation we'll be in. We just need someone in a position of power to take this seriously, and there are so few that actually are. The January 6th committee members are the ones coming closest, but even they're saying they're just going to send it to the DOJ. They're not going to do anything individually. So I don't know. I have this queasy feeling in my stomach. The footage is compelling. This should be enough, but it's difficult to have a lot of faith in our system, in our norms, in the institutions after all that we've been through over the past decade.
I agree with you totally. And again, at a time when we don't have this sort of confidence in so many institutions, it would be such a shame if the Department of Justice added their institution as one more that, well, we can't really trust, we can't have faith in.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.